Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. You know, there is the basic need that many communities, all communities need to survive as a frum Jewish community. And there is a Mishnah in Masechta Ksubos that speaks about the dayonim in Yerushalayim. And the Mishnah says, Shnei dayonei gzeres hayu b'Yerushalayim. There were two dayonim, specifically about gzeres, establishing different rules, or as it says later on, the lashon of gzelos, two dayonim dealing with matters of robbery, stealing, etc. And the names, the Mishnah lists off the names, were Admoin v'Chanan ben Avishalom, and the Mefarshim say why by Chanan it says who his father was, because there were two Chanans, and we had to make sure that you know exactly who they are, who he was, so we say his father's name. And the Gemara goes on to explain, were there really only two dayonim for your whole Yerushalayim? And the Gemara goes on, and the Gemara Daf Kufei Amud Beis in Ksubos, the Gemara goes on there and back, how many dayonim there were. At one point, the Gemara says like this, Amar Pinchas Amar Rabbi Pinchas says in the name of Rabbi Ishia, Shloish Meyes V'Tishim V'Arba Batei Dinim Hayu B'Yerushalayim. There were 394 different Batei Dinim in Yerushalayim. 394 bezdins. Kinegdam Batei Knesias. The same number of 394 Batei Dinim. There were 394 shuls to daven. Kinegdam Batei Medrashes, and 394 shuls, 394 Batei Dinim, and the 394 yeshivas where you learn Mishnah and Talmud, as Rashi says. Ukinegdam Batei Sofrim, and the same number of 394 chadarim for kids, little kids, to learn Aleph Beis. Obviously, how could the Mishnah say there were two if we see 394 Batei Dinim? And for the Gemara, dayonim tuvahava. You're right, there were many dayonim. But Geizrei Gezeres Kamrin, and the Mishnah was talking about the ones who were able to establish certain takanas. These two excel, the two that the Mishnah lists off their names. Fine, that's number one. Then the Gemara goes on to speak about this specialty of the dayonim. And the Gemara says, Amar Avasi, Geizrei Gzeirei Sheb'Yerushalayim, these people who had the opportunity, who had this responsibility to establish rules, and they were the Geizrei Gzeiros of Yerushalayim, Hayu Noitlin Scharam, they would get paid Tishim V'Teisha Mana. They would get paid per year 99 mana, a certain amount in the currency of back then. Mitrumas Halishka, who paid them? As the Mefarshim explained, the Yidden would support the Beis HaMikdash. The Yidden brought the Shkalim. The Shkalim were put in the Trumas Halishka. Obviously, there was the things that the Shkalim had to support as priority number one. But from the leftovers of the Shkalim, from the Trumas Halishka, that's what paid the salary of the dayonim. Loi ratzu. So the Gemara goes on to say, and if they didn't want, ma'isifim lehem, you give them more. So the Gemara says, what do you mean if they don't want, you give them more? What does that mean? They're not happy with people, that you force people. What exactly is that the statement the Gemara says? So the Gemara answers that their schar is so important to the people of Yerushalayim, even if you see that their salary is too low, but they say, you know what, we'll manage with a low salary. Loi ratzu, they don't want a decent salary, they'll struggle. The din is loi ratzu ma'isifim aleim. Even if they say they don't want a better salary, it is our responsibility, the people of Yerushalayim's responsibility, to give them a decent living support. They should be able to survive for themselves and their family. The Gemara goes on over there to speak about an individual called Karna, and he was one of the dayonim of a certain town, and how he would support himself by doing different mishpat, disputes, settling different disputes. Now here we have a dilemma. A, it's a mitzvah, you're not supposed to charge for a mitzvah, especially mitzvah like Torah. The Gemara says, and it's brought in Shulchan Aruch, that the whole teaching of Torah has to be the way Hashem taught us Torah. Mahu bechinam, just like Hashem didn't charge a fee for teaching Torah. Afata bechinam. So how is there the whole thing of charging to as you're settling a dispute? And the Gemara says how he charged each party a certain amount. How is it not a problem of shaychad, bribery? But part of the conversation, towards the end of the conversation, the Gemara says he obviously didn't take it as shaychad. He took it as payment. Now, to take as a payment is also an issue, because at one place it says, "Hanoita schar loden," if you charge to judge a case, dinav betelim, whatever summary, whatever psak-din that person, that judge gives, it doesn't exist. It's batul because you're not supposed to charge. How was Karna allowed to charge money, or how were the Geizerei Gzeiros allowed to take money? It's so bad that the Brisa says, Mechur hadayon. It's disgusting for a judge, Shenoito schar loden. You know, you might have to listen what he says, because after all, he's the dayan. But it's definitely Mechur. And for the Gemara, it depends how he's charging the money. For what reason is he charging the money? If he's charging the money because, you need me, you want me, you need my expertise, I'm going to give you a bill. So if he's agar dina, if he's directly charging for his time in the court, in the bezdin, for his services, that's not good. But agar betela, to charge because, I'm sorry, during this period of time that I'm standing here in the courtroom listening to all the tinus and minus, I can't do my other job. So I am batul, I'm unemployed, I'm not making any other salary. If that's the reason he's charging, then he's allowed to. As the Gemara goes on to say, that even that is hani mili betela delay muchacha. This is only in a case where he's not unemployed. If he really has a job, and his job, it's time consuming, and he rips himself away from the job, he rips himself away from his parnasa to help, to settle a case, to make shalom, fine, he could charge for it. But if he's unemployed, he's walking around doing nothing, and this is, this is where I make my money, 100% it's not allowed to be done.